me is Jeanne Doherty. She's the president of the Connection, and we've been doing this for a long time. And so, um, yeah, so we're really happy to be here. We're always happy to come and share our information and share our journeys with all of you. And thank you for having us. Okay, can
Here we
everybody
go.
see my
That's better.
screen?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. All right. Well, before we dive in, I just wanted to just spend a few minutes to share about the connection. We've actually been in operation since 2007, providing specialized outreach through education support and resources. And so what that looks like basically in terms of education is we do conference presentations. The biggest one being the National Down Syndrome Congress every year. This year it is is it the last weekend of July? I think it's the
Mhm.
26th, 27th.
Yeah.
It's in Dallas this year, and we'll be there presenting and doing sharing session and all that good stuff. We do webinars like tonight. We put out a newsletter quarterly, an e-newsletter quarterly, and we've been actually collaborating with the Down Syndrome Medical Interest Group since 2018. And within that group, there's a DS-ASD subgroup. So they've really been focusing on finding better tools, testing tools for our kids, and a whole bunch of other great things going on. So we're just happy that they're finally taking a deeper dive into this diagnosis. In terms of support, we do have a private Facebook page as well as a public Facebook page, but the private one is our support page. It's called Down Syndrome-Autism Connection Support. We have over 2,000 members on that page. It spans across 10 different countries, so it's worldwide. It's a great space to share questions and share joys and all that stuff and get some really good feedback and support and resources as well. We also do a monthly Zoom support meeting. Ever since COVID came on board, we got on the Zoom train as well. And so we run these every month, the last Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And this past year, we've split up the ages. So we do an up to 10, 11 to 17, and an over 18, and then we recycle all over again. And we break for the summer. So we're off now, and we'll kick back up again in September. Of course, we do email and phone support, and we collaborate with other Down syndrome organizations too. So in terms of resources, we have the second edition of When Down Syndrome and Autism Intersect. And it's, gosh, at least twice the size of the first book. And it's been written by a large team of veteran clinicians, parents, experts in the field. Jeannie and I were honored to participate in the book as well. And it covers a lot, nearly every aspect of supporting someone with DS-ASD. And of course, it gives best sound information, practices, and resources. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful, whether you're a doctor, whether you're a parent, a teacher, it's a great resource. We also have Teresa Unnerstall is our one of our board members, and she has her book. This is about her son, Nick, and it is another great resource. It's awesome. She takes a really deep dive into all the complexities that her family went through with Nick, and she gives really great lessons and resources and strategies as well. And she is also working on a second edition, so hopefully that will be out within a couple of years. So the reason why we say we give specialized outreach is because we are all parents too. All of us on the board have a child with DS-ASD. So on your left is Jeannie's daughter, Jessica. She's 29 years old. She got her official diagnosis when she was 8. And she currently lives at home with Jeannie and her husband, John. And she attends a day program 4 days a week. And Jeannie and I are both in Colorado. And Jacob and Jess attend the same day program. So this is my son Jake, he is just turned 22, and he got his official ASD diagnosis when he was 5. He currently lives at home with us as well. And yeah, so he and Jessica are our best buds, and they see each other and hang out every day. So it's a great friendship. So you're not alone. We totally get it. So that's a little bit about who we are. If you could put in the chat, we'd love to find out a little bit about you. Do you have a child with the official diagnosis? Do you suspect your child also has ASD? What age is your child? Maybe you're an educator, healthcare provider, therapist. Let us know. I don't think I can see the chat though.
I can't either. So we'll see if it pops up.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Okay,
That's at the
so
top. Okay, so
daughter
Kia
6.
is daughter 6. Okay, yep.
Okay.
I knew that, Kia. Debbie, my daughter is 38, was diagnosed at 15. Okay, good.
Daughter is 3. Brandon and Jen's daughter is 3.
Okay, good. Good. Well, we're going to be covering through the lifespan tonight. So hopefully the information we share will be helpful to you all. And thank you for doing that. It just gives us a better idea of who we have in our audience tonight. Oops. Okay, so what are we going to cover tonight? First, we're going to talk about commonly asked questions. And with that being said, as we are presenting, we want you to be thinking about what's one question that you would like to ask. We definitely have time built in to answer questions, so be thinking about that. And I might cover it, and if I don't, feel free to ask. We're also going to talk about how to build a support network, not just for your child, but also for you. And we'll talk about some self-care strategies. And then we're going to break down the different stages and resources along the way. We'll talk about early school years, transition years, adult years, and we'll share some additional information on DS-ASD as well. So the first question, what should you do if autism is suspected? Well, first, you should consult with one or more members of your professional support team. This just doesn't include your doctor. This could be maybe you've got a therapist at home, maybe you've got therapists outside of the home, maybe you're close to some folks that work in your school. You want to consult with your whole team. And if they share your concerns, they can provide you with a referral. You want to see a child psychiatrist or a developmental pediatrician, but it is critical that the evaluator is experienced in assessing children with intellectual disabilities. And then if the diagnosis is confirmed, you can then continue to discuss possible treatment options. How is ASD diagnosed in a child with Down syndrome? It's usually made through direct observation by understanding a child's behavior over time. An example of that for me, I would say when Jake was about 2 years old, he had probably at least 10 signs, and then all of a sudden he had one. So, just knowing a child's behaviors and noticing changes over time. To establish the diagnosis of ASD, each of the 3 core features must be present to such a degree that it results in functional impairment. Now, this is coming from Dr. George Capone. He is the medical director at the Kennedy Krieger Institute in Maryland. And I consider him a pioneer in really doing research and studying this dual diagnosis. And so he says that these 3 core features are impairment in relating to people in social circumstances, impairment in communication, and repetitive body movements. So let's take a look at an example. Olivia Mariano is a speech pathologist with the Down Syndrome Resource Foundation in Canada. And here she talks about Jackie and Sam. So both boys are 4 years old. They love cars, music, and even toast. They both have Down syndrome, but Sam also has autism. You're going to find that they're similar in a lot of ways, but they're a little different in others too. So here's Jackie, and Jackie is playing alone with his cars, and he loves to drive them and wash them and crash them. So he reenacts things that he's seen in real life. When his mom walks in and says, "Hi, Jackie," he looks up and smiles at her. Jackie wants his mom to play with him, so he shows her what he's playing with by lifting up the car so she can see. So she says, "Car." And even though he can't say car yet, he does try to imitate her. Jackie sees a book that he makes into a ramp for his cars to drive on, and this is known as symbolic play. He also sees a fire truck on the shelf that he'd like to play with, but he can't reach it. So he points, looks at the fire truck, then at his mom to communicate, "I want that," and his mom gets it for him. So here's Sam, and he's also playing alone with his cars, except he spins the wheels over and over again because he just enjoys the way that they look. When Sam's mom walks in the room and says, "Hi, Sam," he continues to look at his cars. He does enjoy his mom being around, so he smiles to himself and hums, but continues to look at the toy. When she sits down to play with him, he turns his body away because he prefers to play with things in a more cause and effect way, such as lining up toys, spinning them, or opening and closing them repeatedly. When Sam's mom says car, Sam doesn't attempt to imitate her words. He used to be able to say car, but recently Sam's mom noticed he stopped doing that. Sam really wants to play with the fire truck that is also out of reach, but he starts to scream. He continues to sit and cry and starts to rock back and forth rapidly to calm his body. His mom is still confused with what he wants because Sam has trouble with verbal communication. But Sam's mom knows him best and remembers that he loves fire trucks, so he gets it for him in the hopes that it will make him feel better. Sam focuses on the fire truck as she hands it to him, and he pushes the button to make the alarm go, and he does it over and over again. So I don't know if I described your child or not. I definitely described my child. But as you can see, both boys have slower than normal development in their speech, expressive communication, and understanding. They might also have other things in common. Maybe they both have hearing loss. Maybe they both have sensory issues or challenging behaviors. And while it's true that children with Down syndrome have difficulties in social communication compared to their typical peers, when you look at their overall communication profile, they have relative strengths in social communication and play skills compared to children who are on the autism spectrum. So if we think about this play example, Sam hit all of those three key features, right? He didn't have that social communication interaction. He didn't have that eye contact when his mom walked in the room. He couldn't imitate the word car, and he didn't have use of gestures or signs to let his mom know that he wanted the fire truck. And he rocked back and forth to calm himself when he wanted the fire truck. He also hummed when his mom walked in the room. And even with regards to how he was playing, right? He was spinning those wheels over and over again and pressing the button on the fire truck over and over again. So he had those repetitive body movements, right? And it impacted him functionally, so that he didn't have functional play. Can autism-like behaviors be confused with other disorders? Yes, absolutely. And this is why it's really difficult for doctors to diagnose. There's a lot of diagnostic confusion. Some professionals might see the diagnosis of ASD to be inappropriate. How many of you heard, "Oh, your child is social," or "Oh, they have good eye contact," right? And so that's makes it very, very difficult. Only certain aspects of ASD symptoms may be recognized. For instance, if a child has a high degree of hyperactivity and impulsivity, only a diagnosis of ADHD might be considered. Some of the behaviors are seen in other childhood disorders which do not qualify for the diagnosis of ASD, and that is children with ADHD, sensory dysfunction, disruptive behaviors who are difficult to manage. And some children with obsessive compulsive features look similar to ASD as well. So where should you get the diagnosis? The National Down Syndrome Society has this wonderful map of all of the specialty clinics. And the key there's the different colors tell you if it's pediatric, adult, or both. So that's one place to go. If you don't have one close by, you can see where other ones are. This is a kind of new. How old would you say? Is it a couple of years now, maybe, Jeannie?
I want
Dr.
to,
Brian Scottco from, is it 2 years, maybe? Oh,
can you hear me?
yeah. Yes.
Yes, I think a couple of years. I think the first time I saw his presentation was at maybe 4 years ago at one of the Down syndrome annual conferences. And it
Yeah.
was pretty amazing.
Yeah, it really is. So he's developed this online tool, and it's called DSCTU, so Down Syndrome Clinic to You, and basically you go on and you answer all these questions. It's pretty extensive, so it can take a little time, but at the end you get information, you get suggestions, and then you can go back and share all that with your primary care doctor. So it's another really great tool to use as well. Why is it beneficial to get an official diagnosis? Well, in almost all cases, ASD is the more functionally impairing developmental disorder. We hear it all the time. I say it all the time, Down syndrome, what's that? Because it's always the ASD that's in the forefront of all of the challenges. ASD in the setting of intellectual disability needs to be a recognized dual diagnosis when creating a meaningful educational treatment plan. It could entitle your child to more specialized services. It definitely opens a lot more doors in that area. And it gives an increased understanding of your child, right, and their unique learning profile. And it also will help in using strategies that work better for individuals with autism specifically. And it can also help rule out any medical things that might be causing learning challenges as well. So how do you build a support network for your child? Well, you want to work with professionals who will help you to understand, evaluate, and prioritize your various options and who are on the same page as you are. You want to establish a team of teachers, therapists, interventionists around your child in school, home, and community. Build a solid behavior management plan, have a good communication strategy plan in place. What we did when my son was little, he had ABA therapy actually for quite a long time, and the home BCBA, board certified behavior analyst, came to all of our IEP meetings. And so that way they could work together and share different thoughts and strategies. And it helped him to learn those things across both environments and in the community as well. So if you have home people, definitely find out about that and ask them and invite them to come to your meetings. It's so helpful. So how do you build a support network for you? Having this additional diagnosis really brings back feelings of grief, right? It's not the journey that we originally planned. It could definitely feel like another label just when you feel like you got a grip on one, another one comes and it kind of rocks your world. And it can feel very isolating as well. But what can you do? You can open up your circle of support. And we always say, do this early. I didn't, Jeannie didn't, and, kind of regretting that now. But the more people that know your child, the better for you and your child, right? That could be friends, families, church people, neighbors, support staff at school, anybody and everybody. Open that circle up really, really quickly. And maybe you can get a personal care attendant, a family caregiver, respite hours. So you definitely want to call your local ARC or your local support agency and find out, what other options there are for you. I finally got, in Massachusetts, we were able to get a personal care attendant, a PCA, and for the longest time, I was like, I don't need one. I can do it myself. And when I finally broke down, and I should say broke down, when I finally gave in, I thought, wow, what did I wait so long for? It was great. Even though I still had to be in the home, I could do I could do other things, and I didn't have to worry so much about tending to Jake. So it was really, really helpful. So this slide is always the one that we kind of laugh about because, who has time to take care of yourself, right? And that's kind of why I put that little quote up in the corner. Because it's hard, it's busy, right? But we have to try to find time. We have to try to figure out a way to take care of ourselves, and set goals for yourself, your child, or your family, and that could be as simple as deciding to eat a salad today instead of a burger. Just little things, right? Identify and acknowledge your feelings. It's totally fine. There are times that we have that grief stronger than other times, and that's okay. But we just can't stay there, and that's important. So seek professional counseling when you need it. Connect with us, right? Connect on our parent Zoom meetings, the Facebook support page. Maybe just talking to family and friends who know you best, and you just need somebody to listen. Of course, doctors, therapists, religious organizations can help as well, and conferences, workshops, parent-to-parent connections also is a way to take care of yourself. Um, Attend to your own healthcare needs. That's, like your annual physicals and all that fun stuff, right? Got to at least do that as a minimum. And this one's difficult. Get enough rest, proper nutrition, regular exercise. That's really hard to build in, but that's important to try to figure out. Take time off without feeling guilty. That's a big one. And maybe change the way you view certain situations, right? I love how Jeannie always says, well, my child's not stubborn, they're just advocating for themselves. So maybe changing the way that you view a situation might kind of help ease that stress. Um, so with that, I am now going to turn it over to Jeannie.
Thanks, Shal. Can you just enlarge the screen a little bit? It's really small, the reading for me, so.
Yes, okay, let me see. Uh, sure. Um,
Is there a percentage, Shal, on any of the, maybe the whole screen just has to be bigger,
oh,
Yeah.
hold on, let me see. Let me try this. Now let me see if I can on the slideshow. Is that better?
That's a little better. Yes, thank you.
Okay. Okay.
Thanks for your patience, guys. So we do have a couple of people live with us online right now that have children that are in the early years of school, right? And one way or another, whatever it looks like, a great idea is to create some type of student profile, and what it's going to look like. Um, so for public schools, what does that mean for your child? Is public school the best setting for them? An inclusive classroom, yes or no? Our kids learn, we know best in smaller settings. Sometimes the smaller the environment, the more one-to-one, the quieter it is, they can stay on task. It never hurts to try an integrated classroom. I know most people start trying that, right? We start at the top and hope that it would work, but never feel bad if an integrated classroom is overwhelming and doesn't work for your child. Then you just need to have a plan B. Don't be afraid to go in and observe your child's classroom. back in the day when Jessica was in school, this is a long time ago, she's 30, I was able to go in and look at the classroom and see what the peer ratio was and the staff ratio and what the curriculum looked like for her. And at the time, we didn't have cell phones with cameras, but we had a flip phone, no, a flip camera I had, and I would take videos of her at home showing the staff and therapists what she does at home. So sometimes our kiddos do some things at school that they don't do at home, or vice versa. So it's kind of nice to have something on film that you can share with each other. But with the phone now, it's super easy to do that. So then you can also create a student profile, what they like, what they dislike, maybe a trigger, how do they work best, what do they enjoy, those types of things. The more you can help describe your child for the professionals that are around them during the day will help your child for sure. So Charlotte had introduced Teresa in the beginning. She's the author of the book that she referred to, and her son is Nick. Obviously, all of her information is based on raising Nick. But this is just a great little snapshot of what Nick likes, what he's like. It's just a description of who he is as a person, what he struggles with, what his favorite things are, what he can do, what they want to work on, et cetera, et cetera. And teachers and professionals are very happy to have this information. The more information you give them, the more they have. So have a regular form of communication, especially if your child isn't using some type of communication mode entirely, sign language, some type of device, or using words. Your teacher can either fill out a sheet that you create, or you can use a notebook to go back and forth, but it's just a communication log. So it keeps the teacher and home apprised of what's going on a daily basis. And set up your quarterly progress meetings with your IEP team. Ask for data. If you haven't had a functional behavioral analysis, you might want to have that. A lot of times we say behavior is communication, and we want to know what the function of the behavior is so that we can help them with their communication. Have your home therapist, like Charlotte said, attend your meetings if they're able to. We did have some people come in privately, and they also were very willing to meet with the team on those important days. And remember that you are part of the team, a big part of the team, and it's all about collaboration and communication. Home to school communication is vital for our kiddos, especially when they have developmental disabilities. So there's different types of person-centered planning tools, and we've all heard the term person-centered. And we all kind of like to live in a world that is person-centered, but unfortunately, that's not how a lot of school districts are designed. It's not how the adult world is designed, but we can help create that with a little bit of knowledge. So there's a few acronyms here. One is MAPS and one is PATHS, and it's making action plans, and it's a person-centered planning tool meant to be used at the beginning of a transition process. And it works to address self-identity, life goals and dreams, and also fears. Helps the individual identify resources and action steps needed to realize their goals. Planning alternative tomorrows with hope is another great person-centered tool. It helps plan. It's a planning tool that can use visuals and creativity to create action steps and locate community services. So you want to focus on key questions. What is the person's strength and interest, right? So when your children are very young, there's not a whole lot of that, right? When children are young, anyway, without a developmental disability, we really don't know what their strengths and interests are in terms of being an adult, right? They're just being kids. What is the individual's dream for the future? Again, another question that we don't really know, but we can help foster that. Who are the important people in that person's life? Who are the people that know that person intimately, know them, know what they like, know what they don't like, know what makes them happy, etc., those kinds of things. What resources are available to help you plan for that particular person? And what are the challenges or the obstacles that are present? So just a brief example of person-centered planning is my daughter does not enjoy babies that cry, dogs that bark, phones that ring. So if you see the pattern there, it is people that laugh suddenly. It's anything that is unpredictable, anything that she does not have a warning that it's going to happen, if you will. So I would not volunteer her at a daycare. I would not volunteer her at a rescue for dogs. Um, she's never going to answer the phone for anybody because she doesn't like the phone. So you want to steer away from those things. What does she like? She likes music. Anything to do with music will motivate her. So we would try to aim towards something along what she enjoys, right? Just like we do. We pick a career path that will bring us joy. We're more likely to not look at it as work, but more like a life's mission. And there are also challenges and obstacles that can be present. But if you're creative, think outside the box, sometimes you can make that happen. So we're talking about the transition years, right? And this is a little bit ahead for some of you folks on today's thing, but maybe not so much for the recording. Transition typically starts at 14. This is when your child will start to attend an IEP meeting if they're able to and want to. The goals start to shift to increase independence on topics such as school. Um, the school may perform types of assessments to help guide your goals, but we're looking at vocational skills, self-advocacy, and living arrangements. Those are kind of the three big things that we're going to look at in those years. At age 16, you want to make sure you grab a state ID for your child, bring them down to the local registry or the county, whatever it is to get them an ID, because you're going to eventually need a picture ID for them. And if they're not going to drive a car, then that's that option, is to get a state ID. At age 18, school will start to make a referral for adult services. Typically, children stay in school till 22, the last day of their 21st year, till they're 22. And the school will usually make a referral to the adult system at that point, whatever agency handles that in your area. You want to apply for Social Security at this point if you're not already getting it for them. They are eligible at 18 to collect SSI, Social Security. And then at the same time, it mirrors with Medicaid. So if your child is SSI eligible, oftentimes that will trigger Medicaid to kick in. So they'll also get the federal benefit for Medicaid. And you want to make sure, again, that your child has less than $2,000 in their name because, they have to be indigent in order to receive um, any federal funding on any level. And it makes them eligible for Medicaid. So that's basically what it looks like in the 14 to 18 year frame. And you want to think about things ahead of time too, like vocational and self-advocacy. So vocation can be anything. It can be anything that they like. I mean, does your child like to fold laundry? Does your child like to, I don't know, organize? There's all kinds of things that they could volunteer at maybe to begin with, and then it would parlay into some type of employed payment, which is always the goal for our friends, right? And at age 18, if your child is a male, you must register him for the draft, and failure to do so can affect eligibility for any government funding or benefits. That's right. So if you have a male that has a developmental disability, you still have to register him for the draft. Make sure you do that. And then we're also going to look at guardianship in these years, and guardianship can look differently, wildly different for different people and abilities. You can obtain full guardianship, a partial guardianship, less restrictive, which would be, more like supportive decision making, that type of thing. And you want to apply for Section 8 and get on the voucher list, because in every state in the union, there is a waiting list for Section 8. And the sooner you put them on the list, the better off they will be. And you can register your child to vote depending on their guardianship status. If they are of their own guardian, they can vote. And you want to check with the resource and transition coordinator in the school and see if you're missing anything on that turning 18 checklist. That's usually what they call it, the turning 18 checklist for your state. Make sure that you've covered all the bases that you need to in your state. And then we're into the adult years, right? So what does that look like? And I know when your kids are very young, it's really, really hard to kind of comprehend so far ahead. But what we're looking at is very different than their younger years. We're looking at day programming. And what that looks like is either community-based day support or day habilitation. or a combination of both. Lots of people do both. My daughter does both. Charlotte's son does both. It's all at the same place, but they access community-based day support and they have day habilitation service. Or they're going to volunteer. They're going to have a paid employment. What does it look like for transportation? Because transportation is not an entitlement in the adult years. When they're in school, they're entitled to transportation to whatever program or school they're in. That is not so when they're adults. So you have to really kind of think about where you want your child to go, how are they going to get there, who's going to fund it, who's going to drive. So that comes into play. And what do you do if there are no day programs in your area that are available? What if there's a wait list? What if it's not a good peer match? What if it just doesn't work, sending them to a center, and then you have the option of self-direction. So self-direction is using the pot of funding that the county has allotted for your child, and you kind of create a meaningful day using the funds provided for that. So that, during COVID, lots of families had to do that. Places were closing. There was nowhere for anybody to go. So our friends with disabilities that were home opted to use the funding on their own and create a day program. Whatever that looks like, but could be anything. You could hire somebody and create a schedule each day. If they like to swim, maybe join a YMCA and they swim 2 or 3 days a week. Maybe they like the library, maybe that, whatever it is. But you use the funding to pay support to create that day yourself if you can't find a day program. So the adult years also come with all the things that keep us up at night, right? Where are they going to live? Who's going to take care of them? How independent will they be? And what does that look like? Very hard to tell when a child is young what that's going to look like. It's kind of it's just anybody's guess, right? But typically, what we see with our friends, they either enter a group home situation, which is a home that supports several individuals with disabilities, and then they usually have staff that come in to support the home altogether. Here in Colorado, we have host homes. We have families that are almost like, if you will, foster care support. So we have people or couples or individuals that sign up to take in an individual that will have a disability, and they will take on the caregiving role. Private residential placement, something that Charlotte and I are looking into for our kids. We're looking into a private residential. We would own the group home, we would supply the staff, and we would pay for them with our children's funding. And then there's shared living. Shared living is also kind of similar to host home, but here in Colorado, it's a little bit different. You're sharing it with maybe one or two people with disabilities, and you actually do live in someone's house. They live with you. It's not staff coming in or out. But there's all kinds of models. You can create it if you have a plan for your child and you think, where do they fit best in this residential theme? You have to really think about their level of independence, and what kind of support they need if they don't have a whole lot of independence and what that looks like for them. And additional information on the dual diagnosis. So I am the former family support coordinator for the Massachusetts Down Syndrome Congress, and they have a wonderful resource library online, and it will answer questions about anything you have Down syndrome related, including autism. The website, it's right there on the bottom if you can see it, mdsc-org, .org/resource. It's a resource library. The only thing they ask for is your email address because they do track how many visitors they get, but it's an algorithm, and if you need information about anything from medical to educational to social to federal, you can click on a link. It will often give you a PDF file. You can print it, all kinds of great information, and it's free. And we've mentioned Teresa several times. She also has a blog. Maybe some of you are already familiar with it. It's Down Syndrome with a Slice of Autism. She's very real. She's very positive, and very relatable. So you can find her on specialneeds.com, nickspecialneeds.com. Autism Speaks is a friend of the connection. We are also listed on their website. There's a tab that we have provided for them. So if somebody, goes to their page that has a child with Down syndrome and autism, they can find information on the Autism Speaks website. We're happy to collaborate with them. and connect with others who get it, right? So not a lot of people get our kids. And in the very beginning, it's hard for us to kind of understand why they're different when they're younger because, maybe we're involved with our local Down syndrome organization and we have children the same age. And then all of a sudden you start to see your child is a little bit different than the other children there. They're maybe not hitting milestones at the same time as the other kids, or their behavior looks different. Um, and there's a lot that comes with that, right? It might be judgment. Your child is misunderstood. You're misunderstood. Maybe they think your parenting is not what it should be because your child is different. So the point is, connect with others who get it. We get it. When Jessica was little, I tried everything. She was just a unicorn. She was one in a million. And I think Charlotte felt the same way. So we started to pull back from the local Down syndrome agency because we just didn't feel good about going there because our kids were so different and there's just a lot of isolation and they couldn't meet the needs. So then that was the birth of the connection, which is us. So we have families that completely, wholeheartedly understand 100% the challenges that you guys have. So this is our website, DS-ASD-connection.org. And we're happy to answer email. We have phone support. If we don't pick up the phone at the time you call, just leave a message and we're happy to have time to call you back and answer any questions that you have. And we want to thank you on behalf of Charlotte and I because we really want people to be educated about the dual diagnosis. It does exist. Lots of people just think that it's, kind of a profound case of Down syndrome, and that's not always the case. I knew very early on that my daughter had autism. She was more like the children in early intervention that were autistic than the ones that had Down syndrome. So, a lot of professionals were still seeing in 2025 are telling families that, you can't have both. Well, and we know that that's simply not true. So anybody on here today, if you haven't bought the book or had access to the book, we do, and we're happy to send it to you. If anybody's interested in receiving the latest copy of the book, When Down Syndrome and Autism Intersect, I'm happy to mail it to you. So you can either email us at the email address on the slide. You can put it in the chat. If you don't want to put it in the chat, that's fine. Just email us the address you would like it mailed to, and I'll be happy to get that out to you. Does anybody have any questions?
I'm going to stop the recording, so feel free to ask questions and it will not be recorded.
I have a question.